Yeah, what's your opinion on the gun laws and mental health, and what do you think should be done, Trav?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think Beyond Bipolar blog is appropriate for political aspects because it's just going to cause charged opinions on it. But for me personally, I'm glad my dad doesn't have access to guns, or I have access to guns, because I'm pretty impulsive when it comes to being suicidal. And the fact that I even consider wanting to kill myself, I feel like having a gun probably isn't something that I should be able to have access to.
Hey guys, this is Kyle and Trav with Beyond Bipolar blog. So I wanted to talk about kind of what we've been hearing in the news. The one, I believe, was this kid, and I believe he was like, I think he was in high school, even though he looked a lot younger. But there's this kid that ended up bringing a gun to school, shooting everyone down, and he ended up killing people, unfortunately, and people died. And this was in Michigan, and this wasn't too long ago, maybe like a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to talk about this because I feel like it relates to mental health. In my opinion, I do believe this kid probably did have mental health issues. I feel like most people, as much people want to vilify like people, I don't know if you can consider them evil. Apparently, I heard he was bullied, so I guess I just wanted to make notice. It's probably never good to kill anybody, regardless, no matter how much anger, but this also ties in with gun control and the gun laws. One, I don't know if he had an automatic weapon, but I assume it was, and the parents kind of ran away because the cops wanted to take them in for justice for everyone that he killed. But I think people that shoot other people, that murder other people, probably do have mental health issues. I don't know if it's good to consider them evil, but it's never good to kill people either. So, like, even back then, I was pretty of an angry kid, and it was mainly due to my depression. And I guess there was a point that I hated humanity to an extent. I'm sure all of us kind of hated people to an extent. You can't lie about that. No one's truly like all bubbly and kind, I feel like, in my opinion, especially when you're bullied. I mean, I was bullied a few times, and I wasn't as bullied as some other people that we have been interviewing, like shoved in lockers and stuff. I was just kind of just like hit with a rubber band, and I got really annoyed. That happened in 7th grade. And the irony is my brother is friends with that kid. But in the end, I guess I don't really care. But I think people suffered a lot more than I did. But there was a point where I was really angry and mad. I didn't shoot anybody, thank God. But I wanted to mention that, in my opinion, and although this will probably start a political fight against the Republicans. So the Republicans versus the Democrats, the reason why they are afraid of losing their guns is because they feel like, not in a free society that don't have a right to guns, the government will take over and we'll end up like in like something with the Nazis. Like we're turning communists, so they need their guns and they're afraid of that, so they could use it to protect themselves. Whether that's true, I don't know. I think we live in a pretty first world society. I mean, our government ain't perfect, even with Trump, but I don't think it would ever end up to that point. I mean, there's an example. A guy told me that the reason why Paris got so bad is because they end up taking their guns, so they didn't have guns to protect themselves. So my opinion is sometimes the guns can actually lead to impulsiveness, and when you're mentally ill, and a lot of people hide it, they sometimes just do the act. And in my opinion, I don't know why a young kid or a family needs an automatic AK weapon, a military weapon. Even for those that hunt, I think a rifle and a handgun makes sense, but what's the point of having all these guns? Because in my opinion, I feel like guns antagonize the issue. I mean, I know there's a lot of few people that own a few guns, but they do a good job at keeping it safe and locked and key, and that's why those parents were in trouble, because they must have not locked the the gun case, and the kid got access to it, and he started shooting. He brought it to school, and he started shooting a lot of people. So, one, I guess I wanted to bring the point that I don't think he's an evil villain. It's unfortunate that he killed people. The problem is that maybe as the schools, and another thing with anti-bullying and trying to teach kids that bullying really does piss people off, and it really hurts people, and it could cause people to do stupid things. I really feel like sometimes evil really isn't born, but I actually feel like it's more created. So, let alone not everyone who's bullied shoots people. I don't think I even want to tie race with it, because I think bullying should just not happen in schools, because it really affects people's self-esteem. Maybe kids just find it, I guess if I put myself in a kid, they don't know better, and they just think it's funny, and they can't really see the future aspects of how they're doing that and how they're hurting people when they are bullying people. So, what the hell, we gotta go I-94 South. But, yeah, what's your opinion on the gun laws and mental health, and what do you think should be done, Trav?
Well, to be honest, I don't think Beyond Bipolar blog is appropriate for political aspects, because it's just going to cause charged opinions on it. But for me personally, I'm glad my dad doesn't have access to guns, or I have access to guns, because I'm pretty impulsive when it comes to being suicidal. And the fact that I even consider wanting to kill myself, I feel like having a gun probably isn't something that I should be able to have access to. I mean, it's kind of rare for me to ever want to shoot myself, because some people live and they just look horrendous.
So, I wanted to give some statistics. Women are likely to have more suicidal thoughts than men, but men tend to act on it, and they're more impulsive, and they end up going out violently. I mean, this hits home with us because we made a video about this, even a music video as well, with our dad's cousin named Dave Klein, where he shot himself with a gun. And I wanted to ask you, do you think if you had access to a gun versus a rope, do you think that rope actually, since it takes longer to kill yourself with and it's a lot harder to kill yourself with, do you think that saved your life if you ever had access to a gun back then when you're suicidal?
I don't think I would have went through with it, though.
You don't think so?
Nah. It was kind of just iffy when I just hung up a rope. That doesn't really mean I was attempting suicide. I was just at a point where I just was at my low, and looking at a rope was something I was contemplating.
But do you think if you had that, do you think if you had that trigger, which is really fast, and you really shoot yourself, they consider it more, more deadly or whatever, versus the rope? The rope, you kind of have to take a lot more steps in order to kill yourself, and it's a lot slower than the gun, which is quick. In my opinion, I know we're not supposed to be political, but in my opinion, I wouldn't want my brother around guns. I guess even myself, I wouldn't want to be a gun because of my impulsive behavior. I don't even know how I feel like this ties with our blog, because I feel like mental health does tie with guns, and I do think it's important to respect the gun laws and let people own access to guns. But come on, man, according to someone else, they feel like someone told me that school shootings aren't as common compared to like heart disease and other killers. But I mean, I guess when you weigh the pros and cons, I don't know. To me, I feel like guns have caused more harm than good. And in my opinion, then what do you do with the mentally ill? Can you really stop a mentally ill person from wanting to kill other people? I guess not. So, what were you going to say?
You kind of have a choice for heart disease. You don't have a choice for getting shot.
What?
You don't have a choice for caught in crossfire, but you have a choice to get heart disease. So,
well, I guess it's a good point. What about car crashes, accidents?
It might not be common, but it sure is.
So do you think the gun shooting has become worse? And the guy that I talked to was a military guy, and he really supportive of guns, and he claimed that it would just be a waste of money and refund and resources to provide mental health services to get them screened to stop the guns. And I actually got kind of annoyed because thinking about myself, I don't think I would ever want to kill anyone.
I still
but
feel like mental health awareness saves lives versus not doing it at all. I mean, what if you were having a mental illness? Would you want to have access to it?
So let's talk about it.
It doesn't make sense.
Does it mean that mentally ill people are violent? What's your opinion?
1 out of 4 people have some type of mental illness.
Trav, what's your opinion on mentally ill and violence? Do you feel like in yourself that it made you violent?
Most are probably not violent. It just, the few that are, it just gets...
Do you think there's a correlation, or we shouldn't even associate mental illness with violence?
I want to say there is see, people might think there's not a correlation. There's just whatever they call it.
I mean, you got really angry and rage fest. You think you would ever done something stupid?
Yeah, but is it a causation or is it correlation?
What do you mean?
Does just mental health cause violence, or is it a correlated, which just there might be some reference to it? I don't think all mentally ill people act out on it and get and would kill people. But I will say that a lot of most mentally ill people struggle with their emotions and controlling their emotions. And when you're with someone with a gun and they're impulsive and enraged, does it make sense that they have a gun? I don't think so. Maybe it'd just be better to do a better screening of...
Yeah, I disagree with this guy. He's actually a Korean adoptee. I actually got kind of annoyed because how could you say that? I mean, I wish I had mental health screening back then. I wish then I wouldn't have to suffer with those delusions or whatever, the paranoia, and I got to talk stuff out, especially going things, but I was scared. I was definitely scared, and I had a big ego, and that was my biggest regret of not talking out, and that's why my brother and I, whether it makes people uncomfortable or not, whether it kind of hurts our own image, or whether what people think about us negatively or not, I really truly believe mental health and talking about it is really important. Although there is a limit, you don't want to just keep thinking negative. You don't want to just keep on. Well, it's important to be honest, because when you're drawing someone, I think this kid drew like people dying and being shot with blood, so that can be alarming. So it's better to be honest and let someone see it than not someone see it and then just go with it. But anyway, the problem with these parents is they weren't very smart at all, because apparently they knew that these issues were going on. The teachers told them about it, yet they didn't even want to talk to them about it. So I think it was the parents' fault that they didn't want to talk about it, let alone why would you give a kid a gun as a gift? That's just so stupid. How dumb can you be? And especially when one kid's being bullied and he's angry and pissed off at the world. But I don't know. One, I think mental health awareness and support and services is important, is worth the money. I wish I had it back then. I wish it was more talked about back then. I mean, right now in Hastings, the school we went to, there's this trans person that's being bullied and picked on, so they decided to leave the school district. And that happened in our Hastings school. Granted, I don't know if Travis and I suffer from a lot of racism, but we did feel comfortable being around a lot of white people. But, I mean, I'll be honest, I thought about those negative thoughts about harming others, unfortunately. I mean, even when I got really mad at my brother, there's times I wanted to, like kill him. I wouldn't want to do it, and I'm glad I never did, because that's how bad it got and how toxic we were around each other. But I'm just saying, why would you want to risk it? One, I think mental health awareness is more important, perhaps more than the gun control laws, but I do think it should be kind of controlled. I don't think anyone needs automatic weapons. I mean, in the end, people with automatic weapons, they're just meant to just kill. That's pretty much it, and kill a lot of people. So I might get a lot of flack about this. All I could say is, what would you do if you had a loved one that was mentally ill? Would you give him a gun? And if he is prone to being impulsive and angry, would it make sense allowing him to have a gun, or her having a gun? Was there anything you wanted to add about this pretty key topic?
I think you're two-faced, because in our Korean adoption vid, you said you were never bullied and that you liked Hastings.
Oh, I guess I forgot about it because I was bullied at twice. Now that I remember it, but comparing to other people that were bullied, I don't think my bullying was bad because it only happened like once or twice. But it did affect me. What about you? When you were bullied, did you ever thought that you wanted to kill people or just want to beat them up or
Not really,
or what?
maybe just end my life.
So you wanted it to cause violence against yourself. But yeah, I think people with mental health issues, they do struggle with a lot of anger and impulsivity. To me, it's probably not good to compare violence with mentally ill people. Not all mentally ill people get angry. I'd say maybe more men probably do, but I think from what I observed, I feel like most people that struggle with mental health issues do have some form of emotional control issues. That's my opinion. I mean, when you're in pain, of course you just want to lash out, and to me it makes sense. And I guess I wanted to say this kid, he done evil things, but I don't know if he's an evil person. Perhaps he could have been saved if his parents listened and got him the psychological help and the therapy and maybe the psychiatry help. And maybe the parents themselves were shoving things down the rug and under the rug, and maybe they should have dealt with the issues too, which caused more unfortunate deaths for young kids that almost and unfortunately cannot continue with their life, and they had a lot of things going through them. One was a star football player, and they're going to name the football field after him. But yeah, I've been seeing this stuff a lot in the news. I guess we'd like to hear your responses. Maybe you have a different perspective, which we're willing to listen about.
Oh, Jesus Christ,
Whoa.
Kyle.
And sorry, we're kind of slipping here. But yeah, leave a message below. Maybe you have better solutions than what I said. Is there anything you want to add to violence, mental health, the kid, and
I don't like
control?
talking about this. It's just going to cause too much political fire on my channel, and that's why I don't like talking about it.
Well, whether it leaves political fire or not, that's my opinion. Again, they're just opinions. I think the important thing is still talking about civilly without getting all triggered. Everyone has a different opinion, which is fine. But in the end, I find it a problem. I think most people aren't born bad. It's just that they grew up in shitty circumstances, and it's important to have some empathy. Yes, this kid should probably be jailed the rest of his life, and he's probably going to regret doing what he did. And it's unfortunate that people died, but I think it could have prevented with better mental health laws, and that's why it's in better screening for people that have access to gun. I don't even think a person with mental health issues that's prone to depression and lashing out should even be allowed to have a gun, in my opinion.
Thing is, I know close friends of mine that have guns and access to it and a permit, and go ahead. Use that for self-defense, but I would never want to have myself get licensed or have my dad have access to guns because I'm afraid I might use them.
My dad has a gun, but he chose to keep it hidden, and I guess for good reason, because you never know, maybe Travis might have done it to end his life. And because of that, because he used a rope and because he didn't use a quick violent death.
I don't know if you knew this, but I actually knew how to make a noose, and that's the most effective way to...
You looked it up?
Yeah, I used to be able to how to do it, but I can't do it anymore. But that's how I looked it up.
So there you go, guys. I don't think a suicidal, maybe homicidal person should have access to guns. In the end, they would take it out on themselves. And I don't know. I think there's a limit. Yeah, maybe there could be a government takeover. Maybe there could be a zombie apocalypse where we need guns. I don't know.
Keep the guns.
That's way far in advance, and I think it's kind of paranoia, to be honest.
You can keep the guns, but the main point here is that you got to stop bullying, because...
Stop bullying, put in mental health screening laws, be careful who you give the guns to. Parents, be responsible, and if you're prone to depression, I guarantee it, maybe Dave Klein, my dad's cousin, never killed himself. Maybe he would have never killed himself. Maybe he would have survived if he never had access to all those guns, and he loved guns because he's a hunter. So I don't know. I think there could be some changes. I don't think we have to get rid of all guns. And I know there's a political game going on with it because the NRA, which probably provides a lot of money to the government, so they don't want to burn bridges with all those rich people. So they don't want to tear all access to guns. But like my brother said, I don't think mentally ill people should own guns. There needs to be better mental health screening in schools, I mean everywhere. And funds should be, and our tax dollars should be given to provide those services. And parents themselves have to be really careful. If they have kids that's mentally ill or struggled with bullying or depression or lashing out, I don't think guns is very appropriate. You got to keep it under lock and key, guys. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you have any other better solutions than what I suggested, or if you agree or don't agree, feel free to leave it down below, and we'll see if we can have a civil discussion. Take care, everybody. Bye.